Open it!
Fuck. Everybody all right over here? Yeah, when you slap a woman around, it is my business, pal.
Shit, motherfucker.
That's Mr. Motherfucker to you.
No, don't, Harlan.
The story starts with a man named Harlan DeGroat, who is watching a movie in his car at a park. His girlfriend is with him, and she keeps mocking him. Angry at her behavior, Harlan slams her face into the car dashboard. The noise draws the attention of another man nearby who is also watching the movie in the park.
Shit, motherfucker.
Afterward,
That's Mr.
a man stepped in to defend Harlan's girlfriend, but Harlan brutally beat him. Meanwhile, in Pennsylvania, Russell Bays was working at a steel mill. On his way home, he noticed his brother Rodney Bays Jr.'s car parked at the racetrack. Russell stopped, got out, and went to find him. At that time, Rodney had just lost money betting on a horse race. When Russell saw this, he wondered where his brother got the money to gamble. Rodney admitted he had borrowed it from John Petty, a loan shark who owned a bar and dealt in illegal activities. Russell was upset that his brother had gone into debt just to gamble, but he couldn't bring himself to scold the brother he cared for so deeply. The next day, Russell visited his bedridden father, who was being cared for at home by his uncle, Red Bays. There, he also saw Rodney, who was a soldier preparing to be deployed to Iraq. After spending time with his father, Russell went to meet John, the loan shark who had lent money to Rodney. As Russell was about to enter John's room, he saw John talking with a visitor in a threatening tone. The visitor was Harlan. Russell walked in without permission, which annoyed Harlan when Russell confronted him. After that, Russell gave John his monthly paycheck to pay part of his brother's debt and promised to pay the rest with his next salary. Russell asked John to keep his actions a secret from Rodney. After that, he stayed at John's bar for a few drinks before going home. That night, he drove while drunk. The streets were quiet until a car suddenly came down from an incline and stopped across the road. Russell couldn't brake in time and crashed directly into it. Unfortunately, the car Russell crashed into carried a mother and her young child. When he got out to check, he was devastated to find that both had died in the accident he caused. Because of this tragedy, Russell was sentenced to 8 years in prison. While Russell was in prison, Rodney often came to visit him, but Russell's girlfriend, Lena Taylor, never did. Rodney told him that he was about to be deployed to Iraq and might be gone for a long time. Years later, after completing his military service, Rodney finally returned. During a visit to his brother, he shared the sad news that their father, who had been ill for years, had passed away. Russell was heartbroken when he heard it. Now Rodney was the only family Russell had left. Eventually, Russell was released from prison, and Rodney came to pick him up. The first place Russell went was his parents' grave. After that, he went to see Lena. It was then he finally understood why she never visited him in prison. She now had a new boyfriend, a police chief named Wesley Barnes. Russell could only watch Lena and her new boyfriend from afar. The story then turns to the lives of the two brothers after all the hardships Russell had faced. Sometime later, Russell went back to his old job at the steel mill in Pennsylvania, while Rodney got involved in an illegal fight. During the match, Rodney appeared to struggle against his opponent. Rodney was knocked down several times and took heavy hits. But everything changed when his opponent insulted his mother. Filled with rage, Rodney found new strength and managed to win the fight. It was then revealed that he had joined the illegal match only to pay off his debt to John. John thought Rodney wasn't suited to be a fighter because he couldn't control his emotions. He advised Rodney to follow his brother's path and work at the steel mill instead. But with his face bruised and his head still spinning, Rodney chose to ignore the advice. Meanwhile, Russell waited at home for Rodney and was shocked by his condition. However, he chose not to ask what had happened. Rodney went straight to his room and didn't want to talk. The next morning, while cleaning up after breakfast, Russell found a bandage in the trash. He immediately confronted Rodney and urged him to stop fighting. Russell advised his brother to work at the steel mill. The pay wasn't as high as being a soldier, but it was enough to live on. However, this advice angered Rodney. He said he no longer cared about life. Pointing to the scars from his service in Iraq, he explained that serving his country had only left him depressed, as he had seen too many people die in the war. On top of that, after returning home, he no longer felt the comfort of a normal life. In the afternoon, Rodney went to John's bar and begged to join a fight to pay off his debt. At first, John was hesitant because the fights were dangerous and the organizers were known for cheating. But since Rodney kept insisting, John finally agreed. After that, John called Harlan to arrange for Rodney to join the next illegal fight. Meanwhile, Russell met Lena and asked her to give their relationship another chance. But Lena refused, especially since she was pregnant with Wesley's child. They embraced and cried, and Russell tried to let her go. After meeting Lena, Russell went to the site of the old accident where he had crashed into another car. He placed a wreath to honor the victims. The next day, he met his Uncle Red, who had often taken him hunting in the woods. Though tired, Russell accepted his uncle's invitation. Meanwhile, Rodney and John went to see Harlan. Harlan looked down on Rodney's fighting skills, saying his build and appearance didn't suit a fighter. When Rodney heard Harlan's taunts, he became furious and challenged him, wanting to prove he was strong enough for an illegal fight. Fortunately, John stepped in and stopped the argument. Later, John pulled Rodney aside and told him to lose the upcoming fight, as that was the deal he had made with Harlan. Rodney stayed silent, still angry at Harlan, and hadn't decided whether to follow John's instructions. A short time later, Rodney's fight began. Fueled by anger, he attacked fiercely and dominated his opponent. Seeing this, John reminded Rodney to follow the agreement and lose the fight. Rodney eventually obeyed, taking the hits without fighting back. But the beating became so severe that John had to step into the ring to save him. After the fight, Harlan met John and said his job was done since he had won the bet on Rodney's match. They then drove home. John felt relieved, thinking he wouldn't have to deal with Harlan anymore. But he was wrong. On the way, Harlan and his men blocked the road, stopping John's car at the end of the bridge. Harlan then approached the vehicle. When John saw Harlan, his phone accidentally slipped under the car seat and went to the bartender's voicemail. Harlan then leaned through the window, came close to John's face, and said it wasn't over before shooting him dead. He ordered his men to take Rodney to a warehouse. That night, after returning from a hunting trip, Russell went into Rodney's room. Russell found a letter from Rodney. In it, Rodney apologized for not listening to his advice to stay away from fights. He promised this would be his last battle and that afterward he would work in a metal factory. At the same time, Rodney was being tortured by Harlan's men. When Harlan entered the warehouse, he forced Rodney to look directly at him. Rodney mocked Harlan, calling him a coward. Enraged, Harlan immediately shot him dead. He then ordered his men to bury Rodney's body in the forest. The next day, Wesley came to Russell's house. At first, Russell thought it was because of his past relationship with Lena. Russell's assumption was wrong. Wesley had come only to deliver the news that John had died in the forest. Later, at the police station, Russell was played a voice recording of John just before his death. It turned out that John's final moments had been accidentally recorded on the bartender's voicemail. However, the police had trouble finding Rodney, who had been with John when he died. Although the police questioned people who had been at the fight, no one was willing to talk. This left Russell extremely frustrated. He even accused Wesley and the police of failing to deal with Rodney's disappearance. Later, Russell and his uncle went to John's office to try to find Harlan's address. The bartender there said he didn't know Harlan's address, but he did know where the fight had taken place. During the investigation, Russell learned that John owed Harlan a large sum of money and had planned to repay it through a fight deal. Russell and his uncle immediately went to the site of the brawl, but it was empty. That night, Russell went to a parking lot and pretended to buy drugs from Harlan's men. At first, they refused, thinking he might be an undercover cop. Eventually, they led him to Harlan's headquarters. However, because there were too many people there, Russell couldn't recognize Harlan, which nearly caused his mission to fail. While Russell was driving with his uncle, they were stopped by a local police officer. The officer said he had orders from Wesley, telling Russell to leave immediately. He also warned that the group was known for making their own rules and being extremely hostile toward outsiders. The police escorted Russell and his uncle out of the area, warning that they would be arrested if they refused. With no choice, they obeyed and went home. A few days later, Wesley waited for Russell at the factory gate after work. He told Russell that the police had found Rodney's body buried in the forest. Hearing this, Russell tried to stay calm and appear strong. That evening, Wesley and Lena visited Russell's house to offer their condolences. Lena urged him not to investigate Rodney's death on his own and to let the police handle it. Months went by as Russell tried to live a normal life. Although the police raided Harlan's house, they still couldn't find him. After months of waiting without results, Russell decided to take matters into his own hands. He snuck into John's office to look for information about Harlan. There, he found Harlan's phone number and called him immediately. Russell arranged to meet Harlan at the bar near John's office and said he would pay off the rest of John's debt. That night, Harlan arrived with one of his men, carrying a large bag. He entered the bar from a back street. Russell, who had been waiting, quickly moved to the bar's entrance with a gun. Inside, Harlan threatened and questioned the bartender, demanding to know who had called him. The bartender, who knew nothing, was shot dead by Harlan. Russell managed to trap Harlan's men in another room and got ready to shoot Harlan. But Harlan fired back, forcing Russell to take cover. When Harlan tried to escape in his car, it wouldn't start because it had been sabotaged. With no choice, he abandoned the car and ran into an abandoned factory. Russell chased him, and they engaged in a fierce shootout. Russell shot Harlan in the leg, but he stayed on his feet. Russell then forced Harlan to walk into the woods. From a distance, Wesley appeared and told Russell to stop, but he ignored the warning. When Harlan tried to walk away, Russell shot him from behind. In the final scene, Russell is shown sitting alone in his house. After killing Harlan, Russell was not sent to prison because Wesley defended him and arranged for his acquittal. The film shows that gambling does not bring wealth. Instead, it leads to tragedy and can cost lives. Endless debts taken for pleasure drove Rodney into despair, and gambling never helped him repay what he owed. Sometimes, even a low-paying job is better because at least it keeps us out of trouble, even if it doesn't make us rich.